It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things and the stuff about things. And sometimes gaming. Let's start the show.
Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat.
This is episode 574.
That one, yes. This is episode 574. Tonight I'm joined by Ace.
Hello.
Ammo.
Hello.
Ashgar. Kodra.
Hi.
And Thalen.
Hey there.
We are here tonight thinking about Bell. And maybe it'll be a whole show, but I don't know. We wanted to share some stories about our... There are so many. Get off. I wrote about this a little bit on my own one post this year. But it was always funny to me that I met the wrong Bell first. Because I knew him as a hunter in WoW earlier. It was like sort of Bell. It was a dwarf.
I mean, that's getting started at least.
It was a dwarf who was a hunter with a gun, which was like notable because there were basically no one else fitting that mold back then.
There was me.
Yeah.
But you didn't know me.
It was, yeah. Yeah, we didn't know Thalen at the time.
I was over in a different raid.
The number of hunters, dwarf hunters with guns that I knew was super tiny.
Yeah, I don't think I ever... By the time I met Bell, he was being Bell. He wasn't playing Loden anymore.
It's interesting because even back then there was a quality of Bell on TeamSpeak that was big and warm and friendly and was on frequently, even when we weren't necessarily raiding just to hang out and chat.
Yeah. Well, and what I remember from the sort of early LNR days, Bell, was that he set up our whole website and forum. And it was like, this was before that was easy to do or trivial. And so there was a whole bunch of stuff where, we would, the like officers would chat with him just to get various things on the forum and functioning the way we wanted to on the forum. I remember him very quietly managing the LNR Faces thread, which got deeply out of control. We had a thread on the forums that was like, hey, if you are feeling up to it, post a picture of yourself, because this was the old internet. And it was like 10 or 12 pages in before we started getting the like egregiously thirst trap pictures. At which point, I'm pretty sure that thread got cleaned up. But I remember talking with him about it, and it was striking to me because, like, I'm a college student at the time. I would not have been the correct person to solve that particular problem in their field. But I remember Bell just being like, neither mad nor like making bad decisions, just like, yep, yeah, these things happen. We're just gonna deal with it. I've been a mod before.
Like, I'm pretty sure I can count on the fingers of one hand, with most of them left over, the number of times I can remember Bell, like, going beyond just disappointed. I could really only think of one time that he ever even got like a little bit heated. And even that was nothing.
I got him real mad once. We resigned to never talk to each other again, which lasted about 4 days.
Mhm.
Was in effect.
The main thing I've been thinking about regarding Bell is less a specific story and more just like his philosophy. There's a book series I dearly love that the core premise of the series ultimately is that shared pain is diminished, shared joy is increased. And I think that was Bell. And like, we would always tease Bell about being an influencer, and he didn't want that title. And I think it's really because that wasn't his goal. He didn't want to influence people. He didn't want to convince you to do this thing or whatever. He wanted to show you this thing that he thought was cool and say, look at this thing. Isn't it awesome?
And maybe bring you along for the ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And make a place where people who agreed that, yeah, this thing is awesome could come together and talk about how awesome it is.
He was hounded for like a while, which I always thought was funny. Straight into the trash.
This podcast, but even more so his blog.
Also his blog, yeah.
It's interesting because like so many of the people who we run across like have a more introverted nature, and I've sort of started to accept that I am an extrovert, but I am extremely awkward about it and don't know how to like tell people, hey, I'm extroverted and want to hang out with you in a non-awkward way. But Bell was absolutely able to do that and was able to build this community, and I'm ever so grateful for it.
Yes.
He was able to do that while being an introvert. I mean, he and he used to say we were drift compatible.
Yes.
And one of the things is that we would both kind of go turtle mode, sort of introvert. I don't want to deal with people right now, and go quiet on chat. And over the years, we realized that we were both introverted in the same way, and suddenly we could just be introverted and in turtle mode together. And so many of my memories of gaming with Belle are playing games together in voice chat, just very quiet, just hanging out extremely quietly, knowing that like we were comfortable enough with each other that we didn't have to have a conversation the whole time, but we were just comfortably hanging out.
Yeah, it's like you don't have to be having the conversation, but you could at any time, and that also has value.
Yes. And it's magical to me that he still had the energy about him that attracted other people who wanted to do fun stuff together, and he still managed to rally people in a way that my introvert self can't quite do.
Yeah, I've
On this
definitely.
end, sorry.
Oh no, I definitely am also. I think people will hang around me, but I don't draw people to me the way Bell does.
Yeah, it's funny for me because I was not part of the LNR crew initially. I got swept along on a Horde server when people fresh started there in 2007. And then later when we came back to Alliance was when I actually met Bell. And just something about hanging out in voice chat, and it was just very fun to be around.
I think I probably might have met him the most recently of this core group. And I basically tagged along for FF14 stuff. And yeah, like joined up, hung out in voice chat for a little while, and I think I knew Bell on speaking terms and not just Twitter terms for maybe a week or two when he invited me to join the podcast. Because why not?
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
so him. Yep. He would just get ideas and he would just act on them and just go with it. And a lot of times they just turned out to be pretty awesome. Actually, the first time I joined kind of quote unquote a little bit late too, even though it's funny, I was actually playing on the same server in Warcraft as all of you guys. It's just I was in a different circle too. But I remember I first actually saw him in Wildstar. Like Mom and I were playing on the Dominion side one night, and we're hanging out in one of the lobby zones because we were raising our alts. And Mom's like, "Oh, look over there! It's Belghast." And I look, "Oh, cool! What's the Belghast?" And I look over, and there's this like higher level Chua already on his fancy hamster ball Chua mount, just hanging out and just kind of chatting a little bit. And Mom proceeded to tell me about his blog and all this stuff because she had been reading it for a while. I'm like, well, that's cool. And then not too long after that, Mom went on to play 14 and she joined the FC. And I tagged along later, but I was always like, oh my gosh, there's so many cool people here. And I was like super shy at the time. But like the first couple times I did some dungeons with Belle, it was so comfy and welcoming. And like, I had some pretty bad dungeon anxiety for a while coming out of some bad experiences in Warcraft. And it was just like, it was just doing stuff with Belle was just so relaxing and comfy and just chill. He just had that wonderful, friendly, calming, easygoing sort of attitude, and he just made everybody else feel pretty good when you're hanging out and doing stuff with him.
Yeah, and it was one of those things like Ace and Emma both mentioned like meeting Bell later, but like a sort of essential thing with him was that it didn't matter when you met him. Like he wasn't. He had circles that he was in, but he wasn't cliquish. It wasn't like, oh,
Right.
these people that I've known longer have some kind of, I don't even know, additional cachet.
No, he just wanted his friends to play games together.
Yeah.
And also, he wanted to talk at length about Destiny lore.
Once you were a Bell friend, that's it. You were a Bell friend. You weren't a new Bell friend or an old Bell friend. You were a Bell friend.
Yes.
If anything, he would have been apologetic, like, sorry we didn't find each other soon.
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, he absolutely said a few times, like, "Oh, it's a shame that we didn't, meet up sooner on, our server in Warcraft and stuff." And it's like, "Oh, I wasn't really raiding much at the time anyway," but it was, yeah, that was just a Bell thing.
I did a lot of co-leading stuff with Bell over the years, and it was always great because he was very much the community builder person, but didn't have a taste for drama, which is really rare among like that particular kind of thing. I realize now like how many people who I think of are like community builders who do that same like drawing people in, but who also really like drama and like the high intensity interpersonal interactions.
Yeah. Bell didn't want to be the main character. He wanted to be the ringmaster.
Yeah. And he also didn't really want, like, he would lead things if he needed to, but he didn't actually super want to.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, he and I would have that in common for a while, where we would have like a flurry of messages. Like we would be getting something started and have a flurry of messages about which one of us had to run it that time. And we ultimately settled on like he'll get the people, I'll handle logistics. And it worked pretty well. I definitely spent, I mean, there was a lot of time where like I felt like I was the ostensible leader of a group, but only because Bell had told everybody I was. Like I was only it was Bell's recommendation being listened to, not me. And I think it worked. It worked great because I don't.
Yeah. Bell also, I was going to say, loved building communities like at the macro scale, but was not as much of the event organizer as he often appreciated having people around to help organize event days.
Yeah.
I forget when. I think it was Final Fantasy 14. But I remember being like, at one point, having a side conversation with Bell and being like, "Do you want to just run this? Like, you're the one who actually runs this behind the curtain." And he was like, "What are you talking about? No. Like, nothing would ever happen. Like, we wouldn't do any raiding if it were just me running things." And I always sort of, it stuck with me for a long time because it was like, oh, he's seeing this dynamic so much differently than I am, and is like annoyed that he thought I was undervaluing myself. Because I think that was another kind of essential thing for him, was that he really truly believed that everyone was not just everyone is valid, but everyone is valid and good and cool and worth hanging out with. And like he may not personally want to hang out with that person, but not because he didn't think they were worth hanging out with, just like, oh, they need a different circle.
It's been hard. I've run into several things where I do stuff and think about how much I want to talk to him about it, because I always thought he had such an interesting, different perspective on like things.
Yeah.
Like so much of like when I am designing things, I'm thinking about how can I do the most out, and like so many times, especially like PoE, I'm like, I know how to build together an offensive package, but like Bell's like got this defensive mentality that I really felt was pretty impressive. And I found myself very early after he passed, like thinking, oh, I want to be able to be on a podcast with him and talk about specifically, I believe it was the way weapons work in Halo and how much we would have disagreed on that.
Yeah, but like in interesting ways that make me think about
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a list of player archetypes for when I'm working, because a lot of what I do involves kind of figuring out what to make for people and what to make. For years, one of my archetypes is Bell. There's a very particular like series of personality and gaming habits that that are just added up into like a particular persona that I often reference when I'm making something or designing something or coming up with a plan. I'm thinking about like, okay, how are each of these different how would each of these different personas think about it? And very consistently, and I still do now, but I'll think like, how would Bell think about this one? Could I go to Bell and be like, I think this is great, and have him go, oh, neat, or I think I hate it? Or occasionally, I think I hate it, and also I think it's good.
Yeah.
I think more than anything, I miss the games we're not going to get to play together, or even play in parallel.
Yeah. I'm going to appreciate the community he built. Every one of you, everyone else that I know I've synced up with on Twitter and which migrated to Blue Sky and all of that. He left a lasting legacy for us.
I think that's the thing that he would care about, honestly, and I find that I don't know. I find that striking. There's a part of me that's like, I think he might be like mildly annoyed that we're telling stories about him. Enough to be like, don't do it.
Right.
But
So when his wife passed, one of the things that made him crazy was the fact that people would remember her and tell stories about her and only talk about the good parts, which, is a natural thing when you're thinking about someone that you cared about that's passed.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think would be a little frustrated with us. So here, I will, in the spirit of that, I will tell an anecdote that pretty early on, when, I don't know, I hadn't been hanging out with him for super long, and we were hanging out in voice, and he used a slur, a word that had been in common use for a long time, and at the time people were finally recognizing, like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be using this. And I hadn't known him that long, but I still, even though people on the internet have hurt me, I still stuck my neck out and said, hey, Belle, like, maybe we don't use that word anymore. And to his absolute credit, of all the people I've known on the internet up until that point, he stopped in his tracks and went and looked it up, and I never heard him use that or any other slur again. So that this is my story, just to confirm that he was a whole person, but he was still a good person.
Yeah. Well, and that was, I mean, that was definitely a thing that I ran into in different contexts. Like, Bell very much Gen X, very much identified with Gen X. I'm a bit younger, and like, Bell was a little bit more on the millennial side of that divide than the Gen X side, and like, there's a lot of stuff that he related to, but I would talk to him about it, and he was like, I relate to this because it's like what was going on when I grew up, but I don't know that I agree with it anymore.
Yeah.
No, yeah, absolutely. We were both pretty much the same age. I'm also Gen X, and there were definitely times where like we had very similar kind of like youth experiences and we're into the same kind of music and stuff like that. And there were certainly times where we would sit back and be like, oh man, that was a time. Let's not be like that anymore. And just, yeah, always striving to be better.
That said, if you did run into one of the things that you did feel very strongly about, he was not moved. And to some extent, I respect that too.
Yes.
Yeah. Like he would listen to what you had to say, and he would think about it. And if he decided that meant that he needed to change, his mind about something, he would. But if not, then he would not.
We had a big thing over this briefly in the only guild split I can think of when we were all playing SWTOR.
Yep. That was in fact the one time I ever got him back, and it was over a comparatively little thing, but a thing that was like, actually divisive. Like, Bell wanted to establish that in the guild, if anybody needed help, people would go and help them, as a rule. And I was like, I don't think we want to create a rule that says people must help each other, because I think that breeds resentment. And his stance was that I don't want those people in the guild. I am, in fact, one of those people that's like, I don't want to have a sort of Damocles of I need to drop what I'm doing to help somebody just because they asked all the time when I'm playing, because I don't have a lot of. I think I was crunching at the time, and so my like.
You were. This was pre ESO coming out.
Yeah, so like I was actively crunching and was like, I have a limited amount of time I can even play. I don't want to do that. And at the time, he felt strongly enough about it. It's like, well, then I don't want to be in the same guild as you. Like, all right, well. Like I said, that lasted like a week. Tops.
Yeah.
And also, this was like 14 years ago. We started the podcast well after this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we started. Yeah, this is pre-podcast. This is pre a lot of things.
Man, I do not remember hardly anything from that game other than I should never raid lead again.
We all learned some things about that game.
Yes.
Early 2012.
Yup.
And I remember why it was only a week now. Because he wanted somebody to talk to about Guild Wars 2.
That checks out.
That makes sense.
He was really conflicted about that one. And he to the point where he would express concerns that he had been blackballed by ArenaNet for quitting Guild Wars 2's beta, which was definitely never true, and I'm glad we were able to put that to bed early this year. That nobody has a list that's like never Bell. And like, I don't know, I had never I don't know, I guess I've done enough of this kind of thing that I know that that's mostly never a thing. But it was definitely something that like Bell felt mildly haunted by, and so I've talked to the right people to be like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But he was very relieved about it. I never asked him, but I wonder how much. I wonder like did he just? I wonder how much of that was like he really didn't like the idea that somebody might dislike him for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like a pathologic thing, but I think the list of people that actively disliked Bell was pretty small, if any. I don't know that I know anybody who. I will never forget when ESO launched. You know, it was an estate, and I think a lot of people bounced pretty quick. I think Bell did everything that was in the launch game.
Bell ran through all 3 factions. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. And like, I spent a lot of time after ESO's launch feeling, because it felt like nobody really liked it. And I remember it meant a whole lot to me that Bell had gone and like made a special effort to like see everything that I had made. And like he didn't have to, but he definitely did, and he did all of it.
We certainly had a time beta testing that game too.
I will never understand how he could just grind as hard as he did all the time.
Oh my goodness. It's very funny because like there is definitely like I have an understanding of what it feels like to be in a grind, and then I do something that Bell like just regularly does is like a light grind. I'm like, this is misery.
Mm-hmm.
How can you do this to yourself?
We had a discussion about Final Fantasy V, a game that I think Bell regularly beat at roughly level 50. A game that I regularly beat below level 30.
Uh-huh.
Because he just said he'd just get going and not notice the time. Put on a show, put on an audiobook. Turns out you can do a lot of stuff.
He liked to make it so that his character could not be harmed by anything that he was going to throw at them, and then just go forever.
I think it was interesting. I think one of the biggest disagreements that he and I had that we would periodically talk about it. It wasn't like acrimonious, but we would talk about it as a lot. Was on stories, and like Bell did just didn't ever want stories to end.
That is a topic that came up on the podcast many times. Many times.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We are definitely going to miss him.
But also, we're gonna keep on recording shows and hanging out and doing stuff. Because not just because it's what he would have wanted.
Oh, it turns out he built a pretty great little family, and we're all not going anywhere.
Yeah.
That's right.
I may disagree with him about stories, but this one, yeah, no, I'll keep this one going.
Yeah.
Every single time I run into a character, let's say folksy kind of first party member character in an RPG who doesn't trust the player for a valid reason, I'm gonna think about how much Bell would hate that guy.
Yes.
Like just
Oh gosh.
few characters got the kind of vitriol out of Bell than that particular trope.
Anytime a game desperately tries to convince me to play a specific kind of way, as opposed to the way I want to play it, I'll think of Bell.
Also, every unlikely drop.
Yes.
The Bell luck. The Bell luck.
Which, as we've been talking, I wonder if it was just that he was rolling the dice so much more than everybody else.
Yup.
Like,
Yep.
maybe-
I really
That's
think
the
it was.
answer. That's the answer.
it somehow never quite put those two things together until just now.
It's not the only answer, however.
I don't think oh no, I know I didn't mention this on the show because we haven't had a show, but I did check, and the number of times that Bell has done Tequaddle in Guild Wars 2, genuinely shocking. Even for me knowing him.
Yeah, no, when you told us the number, I mean, that was higher than I would have expected. I knew it was going to be a large number, but yeah.
Yeah.
I cannot count the number of times we were just hanging out and he was sitting around waiting for Tequaddle.
I mean, if he was playing Guild Wars 2, then that was his beginning of the day, on achievement turnover.
Yep.
That was his thing.
Daily reset time. It's time to go do taco.
Truly unbelievable dedication. And I don't know. It has brought me a lot of joy over the last few weeks to see all of the things that I would think of as his legacy kind of continuing to tick on.
It's been good reading the Belghast posts this year.
Yeah. Like seeing the degree to which just Belghast has expanded and God, the number of people participating this year.
Like commiseratory drinks with long-standing old school MMO devs because they knew it. Not because I have been making MMOs for 20 years, but because Bell knew them. Extremely funny to me. But there's like big pauses, which
we'll get edited
may or
out.
may not. They may or may not get edited out. I don't know. Well, I guess
We'll probably get edited out.
Probably get edited out. But you know, I'm still sitting here thinking like, just like, I don't know, sitting in the moment in a thing that.
Yep.
Yep.
Same.
Yep.
Yeah.
Feels like a weird coincidence that I ended up on the podcast in the first place. I didn't know Bell that well when we started. At least I didn't think I did.
For the first few months of the podcast, before I joined properly, every single week, Bell would send me a link to the new one with the line, "You should join us."
I mean, the podcast was always just we like talking to each other in team speak, and we were playing less and less raid games, so we wanted to make sure we kept talking, and nothing about what's happened makes me want to stop talking with y'all.
Yeah. Yeah. Once upon a time, we used to get together for, WoW rating or FF14 rating or whatever and commiserate. And then we started getting together for podcast to commiserate. And it remains a highlight of my week.
Yeah, I don't plan to stop anytime soon. Middle-aged millennial. It's this or get really into Civil War reenact.
Gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
My hope is that people will be able to hear this some point moderately soon after we make it, but we're still working on that part.
Yep. But it will happen. And in fact, for you out there, it has happened. So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, if you're hearing this, it worked. Maybe have more than one admin for your website.
Generally good advice going forward.
We've learned a lot of things doing this podcast over the years.
It's true.
We'll continue learning more things. You remember when we devised a Game of the Month selection process that was more or less guaranteed to give us the most mid imaginable game?
We played Citizens.
I'm glad we
of Earth.
learned that after 1 month.
Yes.
I'm glad the first game was Citizens of Earth. What a bad game.
Taught us a lesson.
Taught us a lesson.
I don't think I'm going to kick off show topics at this stage.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can wait.
Yeah. No, this is good tonight.
We'll always have topics to talk about.
Yes. They
Judging
never
by our
end.
board, we sure will, yeah. That's how we roll.
We'll have plenty to talk about. For now, I'll just miss my friend.
For people out there who eventually listen to this, I hope hold your loved ones close. I hope you have a good time and a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See you.